Alright, these are the tools I use today. A tomahawk, one of them little gator machetes. It's a small one, I don't remember, I don't know, 14-inch or something like that with a sawback, and my knife. Anyway, I just wanted to show you the tools, and I'm going to take you over to what I made today. I had a few hours to spare, so I brought Duke out in the woods with me. Didn't go very far from where I parked. I just did it because I'm doing an example for somebody to show them some things they can do to cook on a skewer for cooking a chicken or a rabbit or a squirrel or a bird or fish or whatever you want to use. But I'm going to try to set this down and I'll stand here. Alright, I zoomed it back out. I got out of frame there with what I was talking about, so alright, Duke, get out of there. Duke, get out of there. So anyway, dog's been pulling my stakes out of the ground, so I had to put them back. Anyway, here's a stick that I got for a skewer. And normally, you want these ends about 2 to 4 inches long, and you don't have to be this big of a stick. I just happen to use this one size. You can make it smaller for smaller meats, and you can use it for bigger meats. But basically what you do is you just run the carcass down, put this up through the neck, and then down run this up into the chest cavity, and then pull it back, and that'll lock into the meat. So you're getting into the meat so that the meat won't spin on the stick. Alright, that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it is you could split this whole thing down, and then you can put the meat on there, and then stick a couple of sticks down there through it so that they stick through in the middle, and then that'll stick into the meat, and that'll keep it from turning. But that's another way, but this is the way I like to do it. Anyway, another thing you want to do is you want to square off the ends. The way I do it, you square off the ends so that both ends have squared ends on it. And the reason why that is for a couple of reasons. One is it keeps it from turning when you set it on the stakes, and you notch out the stakes so that they set square, and then you can turn it and set it in different, so you can set it flat, and then you can set it at an angle, and you can set it flat the next step, set it at an angle, set it flat, and you can keep doing that, rotating it, and that way you can rotate your meat over top of the coals. The other thing you do is you make sure you try to line up your flat. You see this has got a bow in it. Alright, it's got a bow. Now, because of that, you want to put one flat on the hump of the bow on each end, and then go to the opposite side and do the same thing, and then just keep going back and forth. You don't have to be perfect, but just be close. And then when you go to set your stakes in, I think this is in the frame, you want to make sure that the distance of your stakes are apart far enough so that those notches sit down in there like that. Okay, now I'm going to try to get a close up of I'm going to change the camera angle, try to get a close up here for you. Alright. Okay, you got to imagine that there's a fire going with coals. There are coals. And then, see this, how it's sitting flat and square right now in that notch. Now, what I did was I took a little bit out and squared off that so that it kind of pinches it in there. You don't have to do it on both sides, just do it on one side or the other. This one happens to be the bigger one, do it on this side. Then as your coals are going, as you're cooking, all you have to do is pick it up and turn it a little bit. And then pick it up and turn it a little bit. Well, if there was weight on it, it wouldn't pop out. But just turn a little bit, and then do the same thing. Pick it up, and then drop it down at an angle. Pick it up, drop it down flat. Pick it up, drop it down at an angle. And just keep doing that with your meat. Every 5-10 minutes, whatever you want to do. And just keep rotating your meat over. Now, another way you can do this is you can take this flat, and you can take this right here, and you can set it on top. Now you have to obviously have your stake adjusted to this. But if you cut a notch, I didn't take the time to do that because I forgot. You take and cut a notch, a V-notch in there. So then the flat will sit there, and then it will sit in your fork over here on this end, like this. Okay? And then it'll sit on that notch, or sit on top flat. And then you turn it and put it in the notch. And that'll hold it at that quarter or the eighth of an angle. And then you can set it flat, and then you do the same thing. You can keep repeating that same process if you have a notch cut in there. So anyway, that's pretty much the basis of it. Another thing you can do is you don't have to have the coals directly under the meat. You can actually have the coals spread apart with a trench in the middle, and that way the stuff's dripping down. it ain't flaring the fire up all the time. And then you can always move coals in or out depending on whether you want more direct heat or more indirect heat by moving it away. And you can also have a fire off to one side where it's not really cooking the meat, but you can use it to just so you see what you're doing or whatever. Or just comfort, whatever you want to do. Alright, now to go over here. Now this is the diagonal steak method. And I'll move my sticks over. It's the same thing. Alright, make sure you're seeing what I'm doing here. Try to zoom back out again. There you go. Okay, and all this is two sticks driven in diagonal with notches cut in them. They're like little shelves, like little steps. You drive them in at an angle and build your fire, and then you do the same thing. You can put the fire directly underneath it, or you can separate it and make it indirect, more indirect. Now, what you do, I hope I'm still on the frame here. Yeah, what you do is you do the same thing. You've got the flats. So all you do is you just keep turning and putting it either flat or a corner in. Flat or a corner in. Make the notches as big as you have to keep them from sliding down. And then when you're ready to, if you want to move it away from the heat, you can move it up here. Do the same thing. You can do it. You can adjust your height, elevation, and still do the same job just by picking up the ends and turn them. Okay, it's going to get a little hot in your face, but you deal with it. The other thing you can do is you can keep shifting your coals over. And once the steaks are in, you can't move the steaks, so you got to move the fire to the steaks. And the other thing to think about is you got to make sure that you're driven in far enough, that you're cantilevered enough. Oh, I just broke my stick. I used dead wood today. I would use green if I was going to do this actually. This is green, but the other ones are all dead wood. But you got to make sure so you cantilever so the weight of the meat is not pushing and popping the dirt out of the ground, or if you break your sticks. But anyhow, that's the principle of this method. So I hope that shows what people have been asking me about. Or maybe asking me, I don't know, whatever. But that's how I do it. That's a couple of ways to run a skewer on there. I'm going to run meat on a spit. Anyway, have a good day.